Let's look at the proof of the power rule of derivatives. So we're going to learn how to differentiate a power function. Something like this: x to the power of some integer exponent. It's important to know for this whole proof I'm treating n like an integer. So for example, we're learning how to differentiate x to the 7, or x to the 5, or x to the 22, or so on. Now you may already know how to differentiate these, you may know the shortcut, but do you know the proof of it? Do you know why you're allowed to do the shortcut? That's what we're going to do in this short video here. In order to do the proof of any derivative rule, we always fall back onto Newton's quotient, because Newton's quotient can be used to find the derivative of any function. And if you don't know about Newton's quotient, make sure you click the link that I'll have pop up in the top of this video here, and it'll take you to a video about Newton's quotient. It's really important you understand Newton's quotient before you can move on and learn about derivative rules. Okay, so let's use Newton's quotient to differentiate this power function. So we're finding the derivative with respect to x of some power function, x raised to some integer exponent. That would equal, according to Newton's quotient, the limit as the change in x, which we call h, goes to 0, of f at x plus h, so the function at x plus h, so x plus h to the n, minus the function, so minus x to the power of n, so this is my change in y, all over my change in x, which we call h. So this finds us the average rates of change. And when we find the average rate of change as the change in x approaches 0, basically what we're doing is we're finding the limit of those average rates, and that will tell us the instantaneous rate of change. And that's what the derivative does. It tells us the instantaneous rate of change at any value of x we want. So what we need to do is we need to simplify this so that we get a generalized formula that we can use to differentiate any power function without having to use Newton's quotient every time. So the difficult part of this proof is remembering how to expand a binomial raised to some integer exponent. Now you could use Pascal's triangle to do it, but there's something called the binomial theorem. Let me write that here. Binomial theorem that will allow us to expand any binomial raised to any integer exponent without having to use Pascal's triangle. We use combinations instead of Pascal's triangle. The binomial theorem tells us that we can expand any binomial, a plus b raised to any integer exponent, by adding up a bunch of terms. We find the sum of a bunch of terms, and I'll tell you where to start and end in a second, but each of the terms is going to have a combination, n choose r, where n is equal to the exponent on the binomial, and r is going to start at 0 for the first term and keep going up by 1 each time until you get to the value of n, whatever that was for the binomial. And that combination is going to be multiplied by a factor of a, n minus r times, and a factor of b, r times. So we're going to use this binomial theorem to simplify this. And it's actually going to simplify really nicely. Okay, this formula looks complicated, but let me just give you like a really quick example before we go back and simplify this over here using the binomial theorem. Let's say we had x plus 3 cubed. We could multiply it out. It's a little bit tedious to do it, so it's actually probably easier for this one if we use the binomial theorem. This is the binomial theorem. What we do is we do n choose r, so 3 choose and r starts at 0. Then we multiply that by x, 3 minus 0 times, and that gets multiplied by 3 0 times, plus, then we do 3 choose 1, x to the power of 3 minus 1, which is 2, 3 to the power of 1, plus 3 choose 2, times x to the power of 3 minus 2, which is 1, times 3 to the power of 2. And there'd be one more term, because we keep going until we get to the value of n, so 3 choose 3 is our last one, times x to the 3 minus 3, times 3 to the 3. And then we could simplify each of these terms, right? We could evaluate each of the combinations, like 3 choose 1 is 3, 3 choose 2 is also 3, and so on. And we could do 3 squared is 9, 3 cubed is 27. But that's not really what I'm interested for this. I just wanted to show you the pattern. So now let's go ahead and use that pattern to expand this binomial where the exponent is unknown. It's actually just some integer. But we can follow the pattern and things are going to simplify nicely. So let's follow along. So this equals, so keep in mind we're still finding the derivative. The derivative of the power function equals the limit as h goes to 0. And now I'm going to be expanding this. The first term, now keep in mind I don't know what n is, but I know the first term is going to start with the combination n choose 0. That's going to be multiplied by x n minus 0 times, and be multiplied by h 0 times. Plus, then there's going to be an n choose 1 term, multiplied by x n minus 1 times, multiplied by h 1 time. Then there's going to be an n choose 2 term, x to the n minus 2, h to the 2. And you're going to say, okay, well, this is going to keep going and going and going and going. How do we know when to stop? Well, let me actually just resize this here. Let me move this over so I have a little bit more room. This is going to keep going and going and going until we get to n choose n, whatever the value of n is. And that's going to be multiplied by x, n minus n times, so 0 times, and by h, n times. So this is a summary of what the expansion of that would look like. Now keep in mind we now have to subtract x to the n. And this is all over h. Now I can't sub in a value of 0 for h, right? Because that would give me 0 over 0. But if we do some simplifying, we can actually remove that discontinuity and evaluate the limit. So let's look here. N choose 0, well, anything choose 0 is actually 1. And h to the power of 0, well, whatever h is, anything to the power of 0 is also 1. So this first term, that's 1 and that's 1. The first term is really just an x to the n. And then look over here. We're subtracting an x to the n. So x to the n minus x to the n, those are gone. So all we have are these middle terms here. We have all of these terms left. Now for each of those terms, look what they all have. They all have an h. They all have at least one h. So what I'm going to do on the next line is I'm going to common factor out an h. And that's important because then that will be able to cancel with the h in the denominator. And then that will allow us to come up with an expression that's simplified for finding the derivative of a power function. So let me common factor an h from all of the terms. When I divide this term by h, I'm left with n choose 1. And anything choose 1 is just the anything. So n choose 1 is n times x to the n minus 1. And that h has been factored out. Plus the next term, n choose 2. Well, I don't know what n choose 2 is because that depends on n. And I don't know what x to the n minus 2 is. But I've taken one of those two h's out, so now it's just an h. Plus, and this is going to keep going until we get to n choose n. Well, anything choose itself is just 1. And anything to the 0 is also 1. So we have 1 times h to the n. And we've taken one of those h's out. So it would be h to the 1 less than n. And this is all over h. Now, since we're saying the limit as h approaches 0, we know that h is actually not 0. So that allows me to divide those out, because anything divided by itself is 1, as long as those anythings aren't 0. And since we said it's the limit as h approaches 0, yes, we can cancel those out. H over h is 1. And now what we have is a continuous function where we can actually sub 0 in for h. And when I sub 0 in for h, well, the first term doesn't have an h, so that still is just n times x to the n minus 1. But the rest of the terms would all have h's. So this second term would be n choose 2, x to the n minus 2 times 0, plus a bunch of other terms which would all have an h. And we eventually get to this last term, which also has an h. It would be 0 to the sum integer. Notice all of the terms that have an h end up getting a factor of 0 that's being multiplied. So all of those terms would be eliminated. They would all become 0. Whatever this is times whatever this is doesn't matter because it's being multiplied by 0. So that one is gone. Same with this one. Gone. And all the ones in between would be gone. So all we're left with is n times x to the n minus 1. And that is the rule for differentiating a power function. All you have to do, if we're finding the derivative, let's say of x to the 7, all you have to do is, well, remember n stands for that integer exponent. So you just take the exponent, put it in front, put it right there, right in front of the power, and then you rewrite the power, but reduce the exponent by 1. So instead of 7, do 7 minus 1, or 6. So the derivative of x to the 7 is 7x to the 6. And the derivative of, let's say, x to the 32 would be 32x to the 31. Hopefully you see how that shortcut works, and hopefully you understood how the proof worked for how we came up with the derivative of a power function. Bring the exponent down, write it as the coefficient of the power, and then reduce the exponent on the power by 1, and then you can find its derivative.